Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Do not mind my voice right now. I'm a bit sick. I'm just getting over being sick. Today's episode of Makeup and Tea Time. This is the second episode and it's going to be about the time my therapist called the cops on me. As a little New Year's gift, I'll be giving you guys 2 episodes today. The first Sunday of January. But yeah, let's just get straight into today's story time. So a little backstory, there was a lot going on in my life, like, through my whole childhood. So when I was 12, in June 2019, I got put in therapy. Now, I thought that this was going to be a good thing for my life, and that maybe I'd start feeling better, but why would I be right? So the first time going into the office, it was just to sign paperwork, and I didn't actually meet my therapist that day. But the next time I went into the office, because as I said, this is before COVID, I met my therapist, and we are going to call her S. And I was like, well, maybe I'll eventually get better. And after a few sessions, everything seemed to be going fine. I talk about the usual bullshit that was going on in my life back then, which was mostly family drama. We love family drama. Everyone has family drama. But my family's out here wilding. So I be spilling all the tea, and I talk about, like, how, like, pissed off I was. Because most of the time I was pissed off about everything going on. Like, for example, one of the appointments I was talking about how I was playing Minecraft up in my room the one night, and little did I know, my mom was on the phone with my aunt getting into a whole fight about all the family shit. And then all of a sudden I hear my name. And I'm like, ooh, girl, I heard my name. So 11-year-old me stops playing Minecraft. I pause the game because I was in survival mode. And I head down the stairs. And at this point, it's like 12 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, my mom's got to be having a few beers. Because she would not be up fighting with someone. And she wasn't. Well, I was right. She was actually fighting with my aunt. And then somehow, I don't even know how I found this out. I remember talking about it at therapy, but I heard that my aunt called me fucked up, and and my mom was the reason why. So that pissed me off. I started crying because I was just so done at that point. And then I guess my mom was telling my sister everything on the phone because I was sitting there on the kitchen floor crying my eyes out, and then she hands the phone to me and is like, here, your sister wants to talk to you. So I'm like, so I answered the phone, and I'm like, maybe she's going to agree with my aunt. And I don't know why I thought that. My sister hates my aunt. Like, my family's so split apart, I don't think you guys can, like, understand. Like, yeah. And this was also around the time that I was distancing myself from my family. So, of course, that also made my mom think, damn, she really needs to get help. And plus, I would have crying fits 24/7. Like, all I would do was cry. But then I answer the phone, and my sister's like, I heard what she said and everything, and we were just shit talking her, just sitting on the floor 12 o'clock at night shit talking her, because I remember telling that to my therapist. So the first appointment, I honestly thought she was listening to me, and we would do things like we would play like random ass board games that had like a way of communicating emotions mixed into it, if that makes sense. And everything was fine. It was mostly an office, and there would be days where I just really did not feel like going. And I guess everyone has them days. Like, therapy, you're not going to want to go to therapy every single day, and therapy isn't for everyone. I just had a lot of them days. I just did not want to go. When I did go, it would mostly be fine, but then I'd end up pissing off my mom somehow, and then that would cause a fight. And then I'd feel bad, but I wouldn't feel bad. And it was just very conflicting. Like, I don't know. Like, I just always... See, when I opened up, like, I was just, like, disappoint everyone. I felt like in the room, because it was just me, my therapist, and my mom. And we're not even going to give my therapist a name. We're just going to call her my therapist. And then we're just going to call my mom, for obvious reasons. But anyway, COVID hit. And that means, since COVID hit, we couldn't go places. Schools were shut down. Kids weren't allowed in the stores. You had to wear masks. All that fun jazz. So obviously I could not go in office because COVID. So my appointments would get switched to being, it was like a teletherapy thing. So I had teletherapy appointments, and my appointments, like, the times, like, in between them would always be irregular. Like, at first, I think it was, like, somewhere around every week, and then I started seeing her less and less, and then a little bit more and more. Anyway, summer 2020 wasn't really that eventful. I wasn't, because, like, I tend to get really, like, when I get angry about something, I get pissed. Like, sis has no chill. And that's always been the thing about me. It's just, I had no chill whenever I got angry. Like, it was bad. But summer 2020, I mostly didn't feel anger. I just felt more so just sadness and loneliness. And I would spend all my days on Snapchat, just talking to some of my Snap friends. Or occasionally, I would talk to this one person. I'm sorry if that angle's changed, but my cat just jumped on, like, the stool where I have my tripod, because my tripod broke. So, I'm sorry if the angle changed, but anyway, back to story. So I guess basically the point I'm trying to make is me and my therapist never really had a problem until the summer of 2021. Back in the spring of 2021, I had met my ex-friend group, which consisted of my now boyfriend, and then, which was my guy best friend. We're just gonna call him Aiden because he's been in my videos before. And yeah, you guys probably know who he is. But anyway, me being me, I thought these friends were going to be real, and I was like, oh yeah, I finally found friends that are real. Wrong, bitch. Wrong. As I said earlier, why would I be right? Well, eventually, me and the friend group meet this girl who ends up turning everyone in the neighborhood against me after she gets rejected by me. Right around that same time, I had just got done being out of quarantine because I got COVID. Not fun. Would not recommend. And it was just a whole mess. Right after, well, like a week or so after I got out of quarantine, my guy best friend, aka Aiden, he ended up asking me out one night, and I was, like, super happy, but at the same time, I knew, like, this girl liked me, and this is where all, like, collides with my therapist, too, because, as I said, she ended up turning everyone against me and Aiden, and it was ridiculous, honestly. So, you know, we had no friends, but it's cool, because, like, I'd rather have no friends than be surrounded by people who just act like they care about you. Anyway, I needed to talk to my therapist more. I ended up getting taken out of school, and they were like, well, you should really, like, go to the hospital and get, like, an evaluation. And I'm, like, sitting in the conference room, because, like, they called my mom at school, and then it was my two guidance counselors and my assistant principal, and they were, like, all talking, and they're like, well, we can't stop you from walking in these doors tomorrow, but I'd highly suggest for your, like, own mental well-being that you don't. So, I was out of school for 5 months, and with everything happening, this program around, like, where I live, aka, I think it's called MIT program, I had a therapist from there who would come to my house 24/7. It was usually once a week. Yeah, it was once a week on Tuesdays, I remember. And this therapist, I really liked her, unlike my other one, which I was still mostly doing teletherapy with my other one, but sometimes I would go in office. Oh, of course, I would end up telling my therapist about all the shit that was going on, and I mean everything from all the rumors, and then, you know, like, all the shit talking, all the near fights, just pretty much everything. And I did a whole story time on this, like, whole situation. It's my crazy, I ended up accidentally throwing my brush. I'll have to get it in a minute, but, if you're interested in, like, hear the full story, like, what happened, It's my most viewed story time. It's called My Crazy Best Friend. I will link it into the description box so you guys can go watch it. And then you guys will see why I was depressed 24/7 and why I felt like I wanted to off myself. Yeah, I felt like offing myself 24/7. I'm not even gonna lie. But part of it wasn't also because of that. It was also just because I had other shit going on. Like school, for example. Don't even get me started on school. I wasn't there, and people were like, well, how was it stressful if you weren't even there? Homeschooling? Girl, homeschooling was hard as hell to keep up with. Like, if you've ever been homeschooled, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like, my grades were slipping. Spoiler alert, though, I did end up passing my 9th grade year, which was the year this all happened. But anyway, and then my therapist would always tell me, just let it go. Just let it go. Like, I'm sorry, all this shit's spilling up in my head. I can't sleep at night. I always have to watch my back 24/7 and wonder if I'm going to get jumped. And I would always see, around this time, my mom, and, like, me and my mom's relationship, like, got, like, much closer, and I would always joke with my mom, this is some shit you'd see on a serial killer documentary. Like, the way this girl was obsessed with me. Like, oh my god. Like, to give you guys, like, a brief example, one of her sisters literally came up to me one day in the dead of winter, and she was like, she wakes us up at 2 o'clock in the morning to talk about you, and she's so obsessed with watching your videos. Like, that's all she does, and you're the only thing she talks about. And I'm like, well, should I go sign my autograph on a piece of paper for her? Well, I ended up finding out that she would post pictures of me and my boyfriend walking or hanging out. Like, she would take fucking pictures of us from her bedroom window. Who does that? But anyway. I didn't find this out until not too long ago, so I didn't know this at the time, but yeah, that was just like a little, like, brief summary to give you guys, like, a little idea of how obsessed with me she was. Yeah, it's bad. But anyway, you guys are probably wondering, what does this have to do with your therapist calling the cops on you? Because, as I was kind of, like, getting at, this did kind of damage my relationship with my therapist. In a way, we kind of never had a good relationship because most of the time I felt unheard. But what was left of our relationship got damaged because I would tell her all this shit and then she'd be like, just let it go, just let it go. And I'd fight back. As I said, I'd fight back and be like, well, how can I let it go when this happens, that happens, and the next happens? Which, okay, like, you can't just drop the shit overnight when it's especially ongoing. And she'd be like, just ignore it. That's what I've been doing. It's just making me look like a pussy. I wasn't ever, like, scared to fight, honestly. It was more so I just didn't want to, because it's like, this is some pre-K shit, bro. I'm sorry. Let me not offend all the little kids in pre-K. Let me not offend them. I'm sorry. My apologies. This summer rolls around, and my mom's surgery was upcoming in September, because she had to have surgery. She had to have 2 surgeries, actually. But obviously, after her surgery, she could not drive. So, most of my in-office appointments were before her surgery. And my mom ended up walking out a couple times because my mom would get pissed. I literally sit there yelling at my therapist. The one time, she literally said, like, I'm not even making this shit up. And I have a friend who had a therapist like this, but she literally fucking looked at me and said, deadass, I think you just like being miserable. Like, I'm sorry, honey, but there's a lot of shit going on in my life, and I try talking to you, but, like, it just ain't working. I kind of, like, back when I was, like, going through the MIT program, I'm going through a different program now, but back when I was going through the MIT program, I expressed to my therapist from there that I just didn't feel like my gaslighting therapist was working. Like, I just felt like it wasn't doing shit. And honestly, looking back, it really didn't do shit. Like, even my dad, who literally has nothing to do with my appointments or anything, noticed that this shit just wasn't working. And then we would always tell my mom, and she'd be like, yeah, well, because you were in the mental hospital for 3 days in the summertime, you can't just quit therapy. There's a social worker involved. You can't just quit therapy. And I was like, God damn it. The one thing I want to happen won't happen. So that was like a little bit frustrating because I literally just wanted to get the hell out of therapy. And I was like going through like a little issue at the time. I'm not going to talk about it. It's very private. But and needless to say, I just wasn't always in my right mind, if you know what I mean. So, you know, with that being said, it also changed me as a completely different person. I had more violent urges, I guess you could say. And lately I've been having these so bad. Yet again, I'll just have these really violent urges where I feel like flipping a whole damn room over, or if someone tests me, it gets bad. I'm just gonna leave it there. It gets bad. So, after my mom's surgery, because my therapist kept gaslighting me, she'd be like, well, this is your fault, because you're just not letting this shit go. And it's like, yeah, okay, I kind of can see that, but, like, at the same time, like, how can I let it go when it's literally hurting me? I'm sorry, let me just stop feeling. Let me just stop feeling about the shit that's been going on in my life. Let me just drop my trauma like it's nothing. Like, no, bitch, you're a therapist, girl. You should know it does not work that way. So, of course, I'd always be pissed off, and I would never want to go to therapy. But then my mom had her surgery, and this was golden for me. Don't get me wrong, like, the day that my mom had her surgery, shit-ass day. Because, so basically, I was hanging out with my boyfriend, his best friend, and then his best friend's girlfriend. I'm so sorry, my camera stopped recording, so I don't know really where I was. But as I was saying, the day that my mom had surgery was not a good day. Like, I was with my boyfriend, his best friend, which is, like, he's chill. But obviously, I like my boyfriend much better. Like, that's my whole world. That's my everything. Period. And then his best friend's girlfriend, which, literally, me, my boyfriend, and his best friend now hate this bitch for a bunch of shit she's done. Like, I was just not having a good day. Like, I was literally crying when we were walking around. And I would not stop crying because my mom was having surgery. Like, I was worried she was gonna die. Thankfully, on God, I'm so grateful she did not die. She's still alive. I literally don't know what I would do if she died. But around this time, I also became really distant and I would stop opening up, including in therapy. Because as I said before, fuck therapy. It was not working. Around this time, I started to make up excuses as to why I couldn't join therapy. Like, I'd be like, oh, I'm sick. Or like the one day not too long ago, like about a month ago, before the whole main incident. I know there's a lot of background information, but like this story time, I need to give you guys like some background information to like, so you guys get like the whole picture. And so it's not just, she called the cops on me, that story, and then no context. So I'm sorry about that. But I started to come up with many reasons to skip therapy. Like the one day I remember I was in school and I was supposed to go down to the counseling office at 9 o'clock in the morning to sign on for teletherapy. But did I? No. I was like, oops, my phone wasn't working. Oopsies. Probably should have reset my phone. Not JK. I wouldn't even reset my phone. I didn't give a fuck. I had a therapy appointment right after school, and I got off at my boyfriend's house. We would always get off at my boyfriend's stop. Always. So, normal routine, we get off at my boyfriend's house. He goes in, sets his stuff down, carries my stuff home, even though I literally convinced him. I was like trying to convince him, I'm like, dude, no, it's fine, I got it. But you know how that goes. I'm not saying that in the rude way. Like, that's kind of cute, not gonna lie. But anyway, I just didn't want him hurting myself because my backpack's like 50 pounds. But anyway. So, we get to my house, and then we're making cookies. Which is why we even went to my house in the first place. And I was like, hey, I have to take this call. So I go down into the basement, and I get on the phone with my therapist for my scheduled appointment. This shit did not go well, okay? So, everything was going fine at first. I was being very vague and, like, trying to speed things up. I was sitting there, like, yeah, this happened. I'm alright. I'm okay. Yeah, cool. Shit like that. So, anyway, I'm on the call, and then I get this bright idea that I didn't know would cause such a bad mix-up. And it's important to note for this part of the story time. This is the main part of the story time, where the cops get called and everything. But, I've dealt with cops a lot this year, more times than I can count on my fingers, and I'm not even exaggerating. So, I get the bright idea, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna hang up. I'm gonna act like my phone's died. If my mom says anything, I'm just gonna hang up. So, when both ends go silent, I hang up the phone, and I walk up the stairs like nothing ever happened. Well, part of it was because the cookies were done. Like, bitch, I want to eat cookies and see my boyfriend not talk to your gaslighting ass. Eventually, I finished eating the cookies with my boyfriend, and he's like, do you want to go to my house? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So, we're walking down my street on the way to his house, and then we see a cop car go by. And I'm like, well, this is this neighborhood. Of course we're going to see a cop car go by. I did not think it was for me. Then the cop car does a U-turn at the end of the street, pulls up in front of my house, and stops. So I jokingly start running. And I didn't even know. I didn't even know the cops were there for me at the time. I just start fucking running down the street jokingly. And I stop and I turn back, and me and my boyfriend were like, ha ha ha, like whatever. Just laughing. But anyway, we get to his house, and I say hi to my sister. We go in, and then we're in his bedroom.
Okay, so my editor really ain't working right now, so I'm just gonna have to do a voiceover for the next part. So basically, we were in my boyfriend's bedroom, and he went to the bathroom, and while he was in the bathroom, my phone started ringing, and I seen it was my mom, so I answered it right away, and I was like, hello? And she was like, please go home now, and I'm like, well, am I in trouble? No, but the cops are here. And I'm like, well, why are the cops there? She's like, they're here for you. Like, just get home now. And I'm like, why are they there? Because I wanted to know. Like, I wasn't just about to show up and, like, get arrested or something. But then again, that makes no sense because I'm literally, like, not a troubled child. Like, I literally keep to myself. And the only person I talk to is my boyfriend. So what could I have done that would have gotten me in trouble? So I'm like, okay, well, I'll be there in a minute. And then eventually, my boyfriend gets out of the bathroom like a minute or so later, and I look at him, and I'm like already panicking at this point. And I'm like, hey, like, we need to go to my house now. The cops are there for me. And so we both panic. We run down his street, and while we're running, we're right almost at the corner, and then we can kind of see like my house, which is on the next street over. And there's 2 cop cars, and they're like, know how cops do that thing where like one cop car is like facing one way and the other cop car is like facing the other way? Yeah, they were doing that. And then we ended up showing up, and the first thing I asked was, am I getting arrested? Which obviously was not the case. But 2 more cop cars ended up pulling up, and then a 5th one ended up pulling up later. Basically, my mom walked up to me first, and she was like, yeah, your therapist called the cops on you because she said you were saying some concerning things. So, since I was wearing shorts and it was cold out, the officer put me in the back of the car, and he was like, well, your therapist called us because pretty much she was saying that you were saying some really concerning shit, aka that you want to off yourself. And I'm like, well, it's true. I feel that way all the time. And even my mom will tell you. And my mom did tell them, like, that's how I feel. And it doesn't help that nothing's getting done about the situation with the kids in the neighborhood. So, with that being said, it was just a really, like, bad mess. And then they were like, well, we're going to figure out what to do next. Which pretty much meant, is she going to go back to the hospital or is she going to stay home? I ended up staying home because my mom was like, yeah, like, she's fine. Like, I can tell when she's, like, really depressed and, like, when she's good. She's good. She's going to go to her boyfriend's house and she's going to chill with him. When she comes home, me and her father will keep an eye on her. And so the cops are like, well, we're here if you need anything. And they were like trying to joke around, which I appreciated because like I'm not about to talk to a cop who's like in my face, like yelling. Like that's obviously not going to make me like want to talk. So I was like super like appreciative that they were like being like nice about the whole situation and not just like, well, you said that and you said that. But like another thing about this situation though is that my therapist had my mom's number. So she thought something was wrong. Before she called the cops, she should have called my mom. Like there was no reason to call the cops first. Like that's literally being completely overdramatic. Like if she wanted to make sure everything was okay, just call my mom. You have my mom's number. It's literally no big deal. I mean, my mom was pissed about it, and even my guidance counselor was like, what the hell? But it was just like, bro, like you should have just literally just called my mom. That could have prevented the whole situation. But also what really could have prevented the whole situation is if I would have before my phone died, if I would have told her my phone's about to die and then hung up, that could have also prevented this whole thing. But like this was really the last straw for me with therapy. I don't mention it at the end of this video, but I did end up getting like a new not a new therapist. My mom is currently in the process of switch therapist, but even then I don't really want a new therapist.
Anyways, guys, sorry about the lighting change. It's a bit later. I had to wait for my phone to charge so I could finish filming. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I know the story time was all over the place. It's gonna be a lot of editing for me, but I'm willing to do it because it's for you guys. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. I already cannot wait to post the story time, and it's only the 8th of this month, and I have almost a whole month until I have to post this. So I'm super excited. I actually might release this early. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about releasing this early. Should I? Should I not? But anyway, I'm going to take some pictures because I love the way my makeup turned out. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye guys.